All right, what is a simple will? So I get this question, or people call in our office and they'll tell our team, hey, listen, all I want to do is a quote unquote simple will. And so what does that mean, right? And I think a lot of people aren't 100% sure what that means. So I want to kind of break it down in this video. And if that's what you were thinking, if you were thinking, hey, I need a simple will, this video is either going to confirm, hey, yeah, that's all I need, or maybe get you thinking about maybe a simple will isn't necessarily what I'm looking for. I think, there is no, we don't really use the term simple will necessarily. I think what most people, when they're using the term simple will, what they mean is either one of the following things. I don't have a lot of money. I don't have any assets, so this is going to be simple. Or, what I want to do, which is, usually everything to my spouse and then everything to my kids, or if you're not married, everything to my kids and everything equally. So it's going to be quote unquote simple, right? And in theory, if those are the two things, if you don't have a lot of money and you're just leaving it outright to your kids, then it might be relatively simple. And if that's where you stop, if that's all you are thinking, then maybe you don't even have an attorney do it, right? If maybe you go to an online service or something like that and do it for a couple $100 and it's relatively easy. But I would say the assets don't matter as much, right? So the assets are a piece of it. Now, if you don't own any real estate, right? So you don't own a home, you have no real estate whatsoever, and you have, let's say, one checking account, right? And that's all the money that you have, and that's it. Go to the bank account and just name people as payable on death, transferable on death. When you pass away, everything would go to them. And that's about as simple as it can get. So that might take care of the I don't have a lot of money piece of it. But if you have money in an investment account, an IRA, a 401k, something like that, it becomes a little bit more complex and there's some additional planning. Now, the piece about I just want everything to go to my spouse and then to my kids, that might be the case, right? But let's talk about real estate, for example. And I mention this a lot. If you have 3 kids, or if you have 2 kids, do you really want to put your 2 kids on title owning the property 50-50, right? What if you have a son and a daughter? Son wants to live in the house, daughter wants to sell it. Maybe there's a mortgage on the house. Who's going to pay for the mortgage? Property taxes. Who's going to pay for that? Who's going to do the upkeep? Maybe one of them wants to use their realtor. The other one doesn't want to use their realtor. A whole host of situations, which I can tell you, I see this all the time, where people just can't agree on what to do with the property. Maybe it's the family home. There's a lot of sentimental value to one of them. Maybe one of them really needs the money. The other one wants to keep it in the family. Whole variety of reasons. And if you just do a will and you say, I want to leave the property to my kids 50-50, now you've put them into a situation where there's, potentially litigation, fighting going over what's going to happen with the property. If you've got money and you're leaving money to somebody, are you concerned that your kids, are they struggling from any sort of addiction, gambling, alcohol, anything like that, where if you leave them any sum of money, it's going to actually harm them? Well, if you just do a simple will and you leave it outright to them, they're getting that money, and that could be a really bad thing. Are you concerned about, do they have creditors? Maybe they've been bad with money in the past, or something's happened. Maybe they had a business and it failed, and now they've got a bunch of people coming after them for money. Well, if you leave that money to them, now those creditors are coming right after it. Or a popular one, what if you don't really trust their spouse, your son-in-law, your daughter-in-law, and you're concerned that if you leave the money to them, he or they're gonna get divorced and they're gonna take that, take half of that money or something like that. Valid concerns, right? And it happens all the time. And so if you just do a quote unquote simple will and you just leave the money outright to them, those are some of the things that are gonna happen. Do you have minor children? Right? Who do you want to be the guardian of your young children if something were to happen to you and the other parent? That's something that needs to be taken into account for. So there's a bunch of things that regardless of oftentimes regardless of the amount of money, regardless of, maybe you do just want to leave it outright to the kids. And I would say 90% of our clients, most of the time that is what they want to do. They might want to leave some to a charity or some to a church or an organization or some sort of cause, or maybe they want to leave an amount to their friend or something like that. Or if they've got pets, they want to leave money to the person who's taking care of the pets. Right, all of that happens, but most of the time, a lot of the time, it's they just want to leave it out, leave it the majority to their kids. But when we start talking about how they want to leave it, options for how they want to leave it, what happens if they leave it outright, what happens if they, all these different things start to come up. So I would caution you, if you're just thinking, hey, I need a quote unquote simple will, sit with somebody, and if they're not asking these types of questions, a red flag should go off, because you need to be thinking about these sort of things. There may or may not be tax implications. That might not be, again, if it's a smaller amount, that might not be an issue, but there might be some of these other issues. So those are some things to think about when you start shopping around and looking for somebody to do a simple will for you.